Pyxis, but
Right.
it's probably Pixis. Just to give people context, let's give a brief introduction. Who is Ruben? And give us insights into you as a filmmaker and things like that.
So you want me to do it to myself?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everybody, well, first of all, thank you so much, Tayo, for having me with you here. It's a big honor for me. I'll always enjoy being in your podcast and being with you and just chatting with you. You just gave me an amazing lesson about audio and that I appreciate so much. So I'm gonna
My
implement that on my
pleasure,
next
brother.
video. Nothing, guy. I'm nobody. I'm a guy from born in Cuba, Canadian citizen, and living in Italy since some time ago. And I love filming. And as I say in my channel, always I have my motto that it says, "Live happier, eat healthier, stay fit, and never stop learning."
Mm.
And that's what I try to do. I love filming, and I've been around with Blackmagic cameras for a while, using them and testing them, and I like them. I think that they produce a very interesting and very good quality image quality, and a very decent dynamic range. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Great, great. So I think the difference is when I initially made the video about the Pixis, I made it from the perspective of a filmmaker generally. So I'm someone who I don't have a lot of experience using Blackmagic cameras.
Hmm.
But I would say for the first time in the history of any of the Blackmagic cameras that has been released, this was the first one that actually got me intrigued. And that was why I went looking into that camera. Okay, what exactly is going on here? And to my surprise, I mean, I've made two videos now about this camera. There's been super mixed reactions. It's almost as if people are on two extreme sides of this thing. And that's why I wanted to chat with you as someone who is familiar with the Blackmagic system, but also other professional cinema camera systems, so that you will be able to give insights into what is practical and your experience based off of the direction that Blackmagic is going. Straight away, I will get into what I think has been the most controversial thing about this camera:
Hmm.
the screen on the side.
Right,
The screen on the side.
right.
Um, what do you think about that, and what's your take on the practicality of that for filmmakers?
A big pain in the neck looking at it like this. No, this is a funny thing because everything comes to the human ego at the end. Now we've been asking, or people have been asking for a very long time, for a different form factor. Now Blackmagic Design has been producing, well, the first original Blackmagic Pocket, and then the 4K, and then the 6K, and then the 6K Pro came out. And when the 6K full frame came out, people were complaining a lot because there was the same body.
Mm,
But there's one thing that people have been forgetting, that we are saving a lot of money with that. Blackmagic has been producing all these cameras, delivering a very good sensor and a very good image quality with a very decent dynamic range, saving tons of money because they are reusing the bodies, and that is on our favor. So, but no, but we want more a different form factor, so we can put more things on the camera, so we can use it on bigger productions, etc. and
mm,
and finally we have something that is more like a cube now, but yet we keep complaining because we will never be, because people have to understand that there will never be a perfect camera. you know that's never going to happen. And so It's a different form factor. There's more. I'm forgetting the word now. It's you can put more things on it. What is the word?
Mm. To be able
Anyway,
to customize it, customization.
right. The word will come anyway. But but even though, yes, that screen on the side, it's a big problem for many people. But if you buy a Raptor, for example, a red Raptor, the Raptor has
Mm.
the camera on the side, the screen on the side. Actually, it's a very little screen that you can, you can even use it like the one that the Pixis has.
Yeah.
If you buy other cameras, they don't have a screen on top. Or even the famous Red Komodo X, which has a very nice screen on top, and you can use it, but you will always end up buying a screen to use it because that screen is too small. So uh, and the Pixis has a big screen. Yes, it would have been beautiful if that screen could open like the Ursa. That would have been almost perfect, no? But I think this is what I think. I don't have any secrets, and I don't have any information under the table with the Blackmagic design. But what I think is that this is the beginning of a new era, of a new model, of a new design for Blackmagic design, or from Blackmagic design. So probably the future will give us other things more interesting. Probably in the future it will give us some kind of internal NDs. I don't know, who knows, or the famous flip screen, because it would be very, very comfortable. I mean, if you're a content creator, if you're a filmographer, you don't have any problem. You can use the viewfinder at an extra cost, of course. But
Right.
hey, we've been asking for the Cube, and this is like a proper cinema camera. And
Mm.
like a friend of mine said the other day, welcome to the cinema camera world, which
Mm.
means they sell you the brain, and then you will have to buy at an extra cost viewfinders, screens, handles, all the stuff. If you buy a Red Komodo, if you buy a Sony Burano, all those cameras, they come, usually most of them, they come only with a brain. And then all the other
Exactly.
accessories you will have to buy separately. So this is what's happening here. We ask for something and they deliver something very
Mm.
close to what we asked for. But yet people will always complain. It's inevitable.
Right. Which is I like how you've sort of broken it down into the practical use of this thing, which might be, maybe to answer the question really, is who is this camera intended for? Because
Mhm.
a lot of people who are considering this camera, and I've spoken to some of my friends as well who are in the industry and something, and someone actually said something. He's like, you know what? If this camera's best usability comes down to, you need to get a first AC, you need to rig it up, you need to do all of these things, what type of production is going to be choosing the Pixis as a first cam, or as as an A cam, when you can almost do the same thing on an Alexa, on a Komodo, and all of these things? And I mean, that was an interesting question to me, which I was trying to answer in terms of like, okay, that argument sort of makes sense. So, who exactly is this camera really, really tailored to? I guess is the question that I was like, I would ask in your perspective. Who do you think this camera is really for?
Again, from my point of view, everything comes to money, right? There are people, there are content creators doing an amazing job on YouTube using a phone,
Absolutely.
right? And I respect that very much. Um, I was talking one day to a good friend of mine. His name is Jake Lippman, and he was telling me, the only way I would move to a different system or to a different camera or to update what I have is when what I have, I see the limitations. I need to do something, and I can't do it with what I have. No, and so I see this camera, but again, no. Before saying what I'm going to say, I said before I said this is my opinion. I see this camera not for YouTubers, not for vloggers, of course, because you don't have a screen that flips, so you will have to buy a screen to put it on top. Uh,
Mm,
which, by the way, welcome again to the cinema world. Is an SDI, is not an HDMI, right?
mm,
Because this is what we
mm.
asked for. We asked for a proper cinema camera,
Right.
and
Right.
so. But again, if you want to have like Marquez Brownlee, if you want to have a Raptor to do your YouTube videos, you can do it.
Go
Whatever
ahead.
makes you happy. Whatever you can afford, it makes you happy. That's the good thing for you. But I see this camera more for like a bigger productions, right? Um, Now this camera has something very interesting that it was something that happened to me. I own the 6K Pro for I think 3 years now, or 2 or 3 years. I don't remember,
Mm,
and I've been using it. And since day one, when I still have the footage that I recorded in ProRes when I just bought it. When I just turned it on, I shot
mm.
outside, and it was my daughter with some arrows, and I filmed that, and I still have that. And I was blown away by the image quality of that. Then, just in December last year, I received this one here, the 6K full frame. And to tell you the truth, I I didn't like this camera. Imagine. Why? Because of very simple things. Number one, because it didn't have any ND filters, and I was so used to use the ND filters of my 6K Pro, no, that bothered me. Number two, because it had an L mount, so none of the lenses I had were good for this. So I had to buy an adapter, you know, and all these little things made me kind of hate it. So, what lenses do I had? Well, I no, currently I have the Sigma 18 to 35, and I have another Sigma over there, and but they are EF lenses. So I had to buy an adapter. The adapter I bought was really bad, etc. But long story short, just the other day, I got a full frame lens. This
Nice.
one
Which
here,
one's that?
that I advise everyone to have this lens. This is the Canon 24 to 105. It's
Mm,
f4. So, and but this lens changed completely my perspective about this camera. Completely. Why? Because, well, it's a full frame. Everything, it has to be related to the things that you use.
right.
When I put that lens on this camera, and I saw the result. The other day, it was funny because the other day I was shooting something for a video I was doing. Then at the end, I didn't use it, and I put the two cameras, one in one angle and the other one at the other angle, and I started shooting with the two cameras at the same time. When I finished shooting that, and I put that footage on DaVinci Resolve, and I applied my grade to the two footage, the one with the 6K Pro looked like nothing compared to this one. This one, the
Wow.
sensor, because it has an OLPF sensor,
Sensor.
that you think that is not much. I mean, they remove the the ND filters because this nose is not long enough, like the 6K Pro that I can't show you because I'm also recording. So this is more flat. So there were no space for the ND filters. But they put the OLPD filter inside, which is the same
In
filter
there.
that has the new Ursa. Um,
Mm,
and that makes a big difference. Number one, the blacks are black. The blacks are blacks. So you don't have the problem that a black under the sun goes a little bit violet, or changes,
Mm,
the tint, like used to happen with the cinema lenses I had, the Samyang, which are not very good because of that. I mean, if you're
mm,
in the studio, it's okay, but outside, there's a big difference. And then there's a little bit more contrast. I don't know really how to tell you, but this is gonna sound funny for you because I know that I'm a big fan also. But the image quality of this camera is closer to the Komodo X than that one.
mm. Oh,
Yes, yes.
wow.
Yes, it's something about the tint, something about the contrast, and something about the real colors. Very impressed. And so the Pixis, which is the elephant of the day, the Pixis has the same sensor of this camera, which would be perfect to match it, to use this as a B camera and use the Pixis as the A camera.
That's an A cam.
Hopefully next time we meet, I can show you the Pixis. But it's still, can't show you now because it's still in a box, so I'm not I'm not allowed to open it yet.
Oh, wait, you actually
But
have the Pixis there?
aha, aha,
Oh, wow.
I'm blushing now. You see, that's it. That's the disadvantages of this color. Yeah, no. I'm kidding. This is not. No pixies here. I wish. No, I would like to try it. I would like to try.
You had me.
I would like to try and try both cameras together and put it to a rigorous test. Put it like a using the same lens, using the same environment, and see using the how you call this thing. I forgot
Chart,
the
the color
name.
chart.
That's right, the color chart, to see the difference in tint, the difference in colors and everything.
Mm,
But should be the same sensor of this one. So, but anyway, just wrapping up the question that you asked, this should be for like bigger productions. I mean,
mm,
that's what the logic tells me. You're doing a bigger production, you can use it, you can rig it now even more than these, because I mean, I'm not a fan of vertical shooting. Like
I
people, for
see.
example, there are people, ergonomics is everything for me.
Right.
I don't know if it's because of my age, I don't know, but I try to use every tool for everything. And I'm not a big fan of something which is long like this, shooting like this. For me, from my opinion and from my little experience, I think they should be more shaking this way and that way. If you have
Mm,
something horizontal, sometimes I see these people buying the red Komodo and putting a handle here. Well, you should use the handle here and putting another handle here and having like a motorcycle. And I don't
mm,
understand that. I would like to
mm,
have, for me, the perfect ergonomic would be like those old, how you call it, those cam that you used to put the hand here and do like this. This is the natural thing.
mm. The camcorders.
Camcorders. This is the natural
Yeah.
thing. And so the shoulder mount. It's something very, very natural. But even if you put a handle on the right for your right hand, the left hand goes to the lens because we pull focus. I don't
Right.
even like to have the pull focus like this. I don't know.
Mm,
I like to touch the lens. I had to have.
mm.
I want to have the physical contact with the lens. But this is me. Of course, everybody has their own style and that thing.
Right.
And the other thing is, to place the camera on your chest with the battery, or when you rig it with the rods and everything, and it will be a point of contact, or the viewfinder. Viewfinder is something that when you learn how to use viewfinders and you use viewfinders, then you feel lost without it. With the screen, it's not the same. But I mean, you get used to. But for me, ergonomics is important. So the Pixis has that. The Pixis, well, it doesn't have a right handle, but you could install it because on the opposite side of the screen, it has the possibility to install different mounts. I think the rosette, the one with the rosette, will be the most interesting one. And so you can use a handle, a side handle, or other things, as you wish. But definitely, yeah, definitely for in my opinion, for bigger productions, many maybe documentaries, some kind of short films, absolutely. And the only thing that because even the ND filters, it's something relative. Of course, when you have them, you don't want to lose them. But when you don't have them, you will have them in the lens or in the matte box, and you will adapt.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's not a big problem. That's not a big problem. I would say that one of the biggest problems could be frame rates. But again, it
And
depends on
maybe
what you do.
codecs. Mm.
Right. Yes, I want to tell you something about that. But it also depends on what you do, because what you do is you do videos, you do documentaries. That's fine. You shoot at 24 frames per second, 23.9, 25 or 30 frames per second. That's fine. You're shooting an open gate, with the whole sensor that you can reframe after. You can use anamorphic lenses, and it will be beautiful with that sensor. All the stuff. Of course, you're not gonna do action with that camera, so you will be limited. If you do sports, if you do car racing, that kind of job, you will have limitations. In that case, rent that camera that will be more suitable for those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know. Now
Yeah.
about colleagues,
Yeah.
I have a few list of good friends who are also Blackmagic camera users, who I deeply respect, and I admire. And one of them, his name is, I can tell you all the names. There are not many, and his name is Shore West. He makes videos for YouTube, and his career has been like really, really. He's making it. Now he started with the 4K, with the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 4K. He started making videos, and then he started using, and then he got the 6K Pro, and that's how I met him. By the way, an amazing person. Every time you call him, every time you text him, he's texting you back, and no problem at all. Very down to earth people, like me. So we have a very good friendship. But at some point, he got a deal with the television in his country. He's from Copenhagen. I'm missing
Mm.
out now. Anyway, and Rotterdam. And at some point, he got a gig with the television there. But the television told him, "But I don't want Blackmagic files. I don't do anything with it. Even raw
Oh.
files. I don't do anything with that. So I
Mm.
need Sony files."
Right.
So he changed to Sony. He has the FX3, the FX30, and FX60. Actually, when the FX30 came out, they sent him one, and they pay him a trip to Bali to do a demo with the camera.
A video about that.
That's when I say he's making it. So that was beautiful. That was Sony. Sony do that for him.
Right.
And so he got that gig with the television, and the television told him, I don't do anything with those files. So when you mention codec, this is the first thing that comes to my mind. Now many people are complaining because the Pixis doesn't have ProRes, which could be a little bit of a problem for some people. Actually, some of the people who are complaining, many of them complain because of that, because of the ProRes, because of the lack of ProRes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that I would also say was one of the first red flags for me was if you look at how most post production houses work, it's very difficult to switch them away from what they're used to. So you will
Uh-huh.
find that if a production house is used to working with ProRes over the years, the chances of them moving away into something like B-raw, for example, becomes extremely hard,
Hmm.
because they're just so set in their ways. So I was like, well, I mean, for commercial uses, this becomes a challenge because it doesn't really fit into the workflow of most people. But then, you can also argue that more people now are starting to switch to DaVinci, which opens up a whole different conversations. Um, and then someone would also argue as well that maybe a lot of people who use DaVinci use it more as a coloring tool rather than like a full post production DAW. So yeah, I think that perhaps if it was possible for them to maybe via software updates bring in more codecs that are friendly to a lot more people and more commercial side of things. Um, I think this camera will sort of do well. And I want to read you something from one of the comments on the videos that I made, and
Hmm.
to just see if you is this something you agree with, or is this something that you feel differently on, right? So this guy says, where's that comment? Where is it again? It was a very fantastic one. Right. So he says this camera seems like a camera for the solo creators who love for themselves the dynamic range and B-raw. But you just need to buy the Blackmagic Design Video Assist, the size that you like, and you're good to go. That's the first thing. So two questions that I have there is, do you agree with this phrase? And then secondly, he's talking about dynamic range. The Pixis came out officially rated at 13 stops of dynamic range, and people went crazy because of that again. So those two things in terms of dynamic range, and then do you agree with the general sentiment of this comment?
Um, why, first of all, why that monitor? Because of what
Mm.
you're going to deliver? Because it doesn't have a ProRes and the monitor can record ProRes?
No, it's just basically another screen. I guess it's
Ah,
also
okay.
to move the screen from the side, because
Hmm. Hmm.
people are saying that is a potential solution to the screen being on the side, because
Yeah.
if you use an external monitor, then that whole side screen becomes redundant. So
Yeah.
some people are saying Blackmagic did that as they created a problem to solve it, by people buying the video assist is sort
Hmm.
of like they're creating a solution to the problem that they created.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I,
the
I see
Blackmagic
what you
Video
mean.
Assist is just another screen that goes on top. Which, for example, for someone who already owns like a small HD monitor, for example, they probably wouldn't need to buy this video assist or like any other monitor that you have lying around. But for the price of this thing, which for me is the reason why I just cannot hate on this camera. The
Yeah.
pricing on this thing is
Exactly.
it's ridiculous. At this, like, it
Exactly.
is ridiculous.
Exactly.
So there's so many things that people are talking about, but when you bring it down to the pricing thing, it's sort of like, I mean, for that price, like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Get a
So
screen.
yeah.
Get a screen and deal with it, or get the viewfinder. Of course, the
Mm,
viewfinder is another thousand and some euros. So yeah, but it would be like the same process that I went through when I got this camera. I had to buy an
mm,
adapter. I had to buy a different SD card because the SD card that my 6K Pro uses is not this one. This one is the CF Express. It's a different thing. So I had to buy these. I had to buy that, and I said, "Whoa!" So it's not ready to go. I have to buy certain things to make it go, to make it work. But it's like that. So it would be, and I understand these people that feel like that. because you need certain things to make it work. And but what can you do? Like you say, look at the price and then complain. Or then, go and get something that has more dynamic range, that has all the characteristics that you want, you know?
Right. But I mean, that's another argument that for me, this argument of dynamic range, I
Yeah.
find it to be to just be peaky. I think people are just being peaky. And this is why I think so. For someone who I've shot on an Arri, I've shot on a Komodo, I've shot on the Sony. I mean, my Sony A7 IV is my personal camera and things like that. I've shot on cameras that have zero dynamic range. You know,
Mm.
those tiny cube action cameras that people sell,
Mhm.
they sell it here in China. They're basically knockoff versions of the GoPros and things like that. Those things
Ah.
have zero dynamic range, if that's possible.
Mhm.
Um, but my point about the dynamic range is people often forget that you don't always need the dynamic range.
No, no.
What you are trying to capture is ultimately within anywhere from like 3 stops to 10, 12 stops, unless you're really filming into the sun.
Mhm.
So, and people saying, oh, this camera has 13 stops of dynamic range. Well, the Alexa Mini has 14 stops. It's just
There
one
you go.
stop over this. I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure how many stops the Komodo has now, but the argument of, oh, this camera only has 13 stops, that is ridiculous. That is this. At what point does high dynamic range become a thing? Because the Alexa, I believe the Alexa Mini LF, if I'm not, or the Alexa LF, is the
Mhm.
only one with 17 stops of dynamic range.
Wow.
And all the other cameras are rated at 14, maybe 15 on some of the Komodo cameras. I'm
Mhm.
not even
Mhm.
exactly sure how many stops the FX6 has,
Yeah.
which is a great, is a great question because I
Yeah.
believe this camera is
Very good
cheaper than
camera.
when the FX6 came out.
Yeah.
Um, so the concept of dynamic range and that as a drawback that people are referring to, what do you think about that?
Well, I have in the video I did about the Pixis. Well, I didn't do a video about the Pixis. I did a video about the Blackmagic design presentation, um, where I talk about all the things they released, including one thing that I like very much that I would like to have it one day, which is the color. I don't know. I don't remember the name now. The color panel they did for
Mm,
DaVinci Resolve, which is beautiful and pretty affordable. And then I talk about the Ursa, the Blackmagic Ursa 12K, the new one that they released, and about the Pixis, just to point out the things and the characteristics of everything.
mm,
That's it. I didn't go on detail about things. And then I have also a mixed kind of reaction of people writing, not as strong as when I did the video about this camera, because I talked bad about this camera when the camera was released. And that was like people fighting with people in my comments. That would have been beautiful
mm.
for the YouTube algorithm, no? But anyway. But in this video I did now, there is a guy who wrote to me, and basically he he had a list. I don't know where he got that information from, but it's interesting. I should uh, copy that. He made a list of all the cameras and their dynamic range. Basically, what
Mm,
he's saying that the companies declare um, uh, a certain dynamic range these cameras come out with, but in reality it's not like that. In reality they have less. I don't know where people get this information from, but it's not the first one that I hear talking about that.
same
And so
here.
he mentioned a number of some numbers, and which was very interesting. Yeah, I agree with you. Dynamic range is something that will work, for example, when you're filming something in where there is a certain amount of light, and then in one side of the frame, etc. There's something with height, very, very bright. So the camera will have to capture the two different scenarios, no, the darkest part and the highlights. If the camera doesn't have a good dynamic range, happens sorry, what happens to me with a picture I took with my front camera of my iPhone 11 in New York, where you see me, but at the back there were some buildings and you don't see anything. Everything is white because of the light. The camera couldn't adjust or one thing or the other, no? And so I don't think that the dynamic range for this camera is so dramatic. Again, if you take in consideration the price of the camera, let
Right.
me see if I can pull the comments with the thing. I don't know. I hope I don't
Mm,
lose my connection, but I will. If I'm quick here, I think I will be able to tell you what the guy said, which is
right.
very interesting. Let me see. Okay, I'm in the video, so let me go to comments. All right, it was a thread of comments. Many people joining. Um, Now the challenge. I even had a lady from Irix. You know the brand of lenses,
Of
Irix.
lenses, yeah.
I had a lady, cinema lenses. I had a lady writing to me about the video. She was very proud to see in the presentation, in the Blackmagic presentation, to see that Blackmagic used
Irix.
those lenses, yeah, to
Yeah.
promote the camera. I think it's here. Let me see. Uh, no, there are so many comments now that I. There you go. There you go. So the guy says, so here is the city dynamic range test to a signal to noise
Cinity?
ratio. The CDD, sorry, yeah, here's the
Ah,
CDD
okay.
dynamic range test done to signal to noise ratio of 2. So it says the new Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K gets a score of 11.7. So the Pixis will
Wow.
be in the same
Range.
range, which is not bad for a 3,000 camera. No, he says, which
Absolutely.
he's right. And then he says the
Absolutely.
Arri Alexa 35 is 15.3, Arri Alexa Classic 13.8, Red V Raptor AKVV 13.7, which is completely different from
Mm,
what they say,
mm,
Arri Alexa Mini LF 13.5, Sony Venice 2 AK 13.2, Canon EOS C500
right.
Mark 3 13.1, Sony Alpha. So he gives the whole list. He gives this. At the end, he said Red Komodo, the original 12.5, and so on. So it was very interesting. The whole list. I said, wow.
The whole least of
So
it.
you know.
Yeah. That whole dynamic range testing has been something that the first time I heard about that, I was like, oh wait, I think it was actually from one of Gerald's video, Gerald Undone,
Hmm.
where it was perhaps the A7S3 or something, where it was quoted at a specific range, and then he
Hmm.
actually ran the test and is like, well, it's not up to that. And I
Oh, sorry,
was, okay.
sorry, Gerald. Yeah, we're talking about you now. No, no, good, all good, man, all good, all good. Yeah, nice to hear from you.
Well, yeah, we're undone. So he ran those tests, and I mean that was like, I think that was when he sort of started becoming popular. That, well, what the camera says or what the camera manufacturer really says is not what you actually get. Maybe they're in a way recording um the production range of the camera,
You lose
but
something,
in
huh?
reality you do lose a couple of things.
Mm.
So I definitely think dynamic range is not a factor to this camera to make me be like, oh no, 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 no. Because once again, I've historically seen what people have done on Blackmagic cameras. And even if I haven't used the cameras, like, I think there's something about, I do agree with you when you say there's something about the image that comes out from a Blackmagic camera.
Yeah,
It just has this filmic look. Why? I
definitely.
don't know. I do think that at this point you can work most 10-bit cameras to get them to an image where you like it, where you want it to be. But I just think that, there's certain cameras that just have those things. um I spent the whole of last week looking up the Ari Amira, and the reason is because I've been trying to lay my hands on to get into the area ecosystem as an owner. But I mean, I'm not going to spend all that money on buying
Hmm.
the LF or something right now, because once again, it doesn't really fit into the workflow of most of the commercial productions that we do, which is where the Komodo fits in. Because a lot of what we do requires like being fast, being able to put cameras in certain places, and also just the being able to hand those files over to production houses that work with those same files. But I wanted an Irie camera that I could personally use for some
Uh-huh.
documentaries or for like
Hmm.
narrative films and everything. And the Amira was the most attainable in terms of price. And I just really, I went in. Okay, I was like, okay, what is the dynamic range on this thing? What is the quality of the image and everything? And that was when I actually found out that all the sensors from the Alexa Classic to the Alexa Mini, which is arguably one of the most popular Arri cameras that's even still being used up until today,
Hmm.
all those three cameras, they have the same sensors. So you get the same image quality from the Classic, the Amira, and the Mini. And I
Imagine.
believe even downright to maybe the Mini LF. I'm not sure on that, but I'm definitely sure about those three cameras. Now, the Alexa Mini costs almost twice as much for the Amira. um the value proposition that most people that I spoke to about this thing are like, oh, it has open gate 4:3.
Okay.
It doesn't have 4K, which, well, I mean, we're not really talking about resolution per se, but it has
Uh-huh.
4:3, which is only useful if you're doing a lot of work in anamorphic.
Hmm.
But outside of that, the Amira is a much more capable camera than what people give it credit for. And that sort of comes back to, this camera as well. Is at the end of the day, I think it just really comes down to, what do you use your camera for? How do you want to
Exactly.
use your camera? How do
Exactly.
you really want to use your camera? Because
Exactly.
there's no
That's the key.
perfect camera. There's no
No, it will
perfect
never be.
camera anywhere.
It would be
Yeah.
too bad for the company. It would be, terrible for the company to build a perfect camera. No, it
Right.
doesn't have a cost efficiency. No.
There
Yeah.
there is no perfect camera. One thing, I mean, yeah, we've spoken about the screen, we've spoken about the dynamic range, we've spoken
Hmm.
about codecs. Codecs, also going back to the issue of codecs, is I think
Yeah.
at this point, anyone, you can just transcode. Just try, you want
Well,
ProRes, transcode that to ProRes.
exactly. No, the thing I used to do at the beginning, when I didn't know how to use DaVinci Resolve, I still don't know how to use it, but I use it more than from the beginning. What I used to do at the beginning. So what I used to do at the beginning, I used to record with my, oops, I used to record with my Blackmagic and using B raw, because I discovered that B raw I liked it more and I could play with colors better than using ProRes. I recorded, I put it on DaVinci Resolve, and I exported to keep editing on Final Cut Pro. And what I did, I exported in ProRes. Of course, I understand this is one more step. It's not that I
Mm,
recorded and I give you the file here. This is what I shot. You know, work with it,
mm,
because many people do like that. And so it's one more step, but it's doable anyway. It will take you some time, but it's doable.
right. I I have a question about that though. How
Mhm.
comfortable really is that process? Because yeah, a lot of people do that. Even my creative partner Tony edits in DaVinci Resolve, and sometimes where we would have to work on a project where maybe he has to do color or something, he'd
Mhm.
be like, "Oh, just give it to me in ProRes and do that." I personally don't like that process of switching between NLEs,
Mm,
because I'm a firm believer that in the process of transfer of digital files, you
yeah.
lose something.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't think that the same quality of the XAVCS file that I recorded in on my Sony camera that I've edited in Final Cut Pro, and I'm
Hmm.
exporting that as ProRes and taking that back into another DAW. I don't think that the quality is going to be the same. Now, it might not be drastically different, but I don't think it's the same. And that is the sole reason why I don't do that process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like walk me through that, routing those two things from Final Cut Pro to DaVinci.
Yeah, yeah. What I used to do was the simplest thing ever. I used to take my raw file and open DaVinci Resolve and import the file, and then I used to go to the delivery page, and on the left, I used to select ProRes, and I used to export the file in ProRes. I used to convert it to ProRes, no color, nothing. And I used to do the whole thing in
Mm,
in Final Cut Pro. So I used to color
mm,
it and do the cutting, the whole editing. No? Then I said, so
mm,
why should I do the color in Final Cut Pro when I can do it much better in DaVinci Resolve? So I started learning about nodes and stuff. So what I do now, I still use both programs. What I do now is that I record and I import the file in DaVinci Resolve, and I color. I do the whole color process in DaVinci Resolve. I
mm,
have templates of depending on what I use and depending on the situation. Sometimes I change little steps, you know. But basically, is what I do is that I do the colors in DaVinci Resolve, and then I export it in H. Um, I'm having problem with my memory today, but anyway, I export it to, and then I do the whole thing in the rest. I mean, of the video
mm.
in Final Cut Pro. But
In
the whole
Final Cut
color
Pro,
process I do it in, yeah, the whole process of the
in
color I do it
DaVinci.
in DaVinci Resolve. Yeah,
Maybe someday I will get around actually, which I won't lie. Once again, this last
yeah. Hmm.
announcement at NAB, um, seeing the updates that they were bringing to DaVinci Resolve, I think one of the
Yeah.
things that really caught my attention was the panning feature, the stereos trying to create like a surround imagery of sound
Oh,
where you can move the
oh man.
sound in real
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
I was blown away. I was
You
blown
actually
away.
don't move it. The AI does it for you.
Does it? I
It
was
will
blown away.
pan. It will pan. You track an object, and it will pan the audio automatically for you. That's a page is called Fairlight. So DaVinci
Fairlight.
Resolve is divided in different pages. Now you have the cut page, you have the edit page, you have the Fairlight, which is audio, only audio, and then you have another page that now I don't remember what the name, which is where
Fusion?
you do
Fusion.
fusion, where you do the effects and the stuff that is crazy.
Mm,
And then you have the color page and the delivery page where you export
mm,
using different things. Now
the files.
you take a footage from Blackmagic, and you import it in DaVinci Resolve, and you will be surprised the things you can do. You will be
Mm,
surprised how much you can push that be raw. I don't want to get into talking about different code, but be raw
mm,
is impressive. You can push it up to a limit that you will say, wow, without
mm.
distorting, without losing,
Without breaking the
eh,
image.
without breaking the image. There's another code that I use
Interesting.
also that is even amazing, no?
Mm.
But
Right. Okay. One more thing that I wanted
mm,
us to talk about is that people also had a problem with is using this camera on a gimbal. People have said that, oh, well, for the price point of this camera, it looks like a camera that someone should be able to prop up on a gimbal and fly that. which, in a way, from a design perspective, this camera is not a box. It's more of a rectangular cube, if
Mhm.
you know, if you really look at it.
Mhm.
And that's that once again, like, this is all subjective of how this will play out on the gimbal. But just looking at what is there, this camera doesn't look like it's going to be able to sit properly on a gimbal,
Yeah.
unless you go for like the Giant Zhiyun, the what is it called, something Pro, or like the RS 2 Pro, and very very big gimbals that will be able to give you clearance for the space that's there. People
Mhm.
have also had that complaint about this camera, that if it's on a gimbal, it's almost impossible to use this camera. What, like, I don't know if you agree with that in terms of just from a design perspective.
Sure. Well, I think I will tell you very well when I will have the camera here in my hands. So I will exactly know the size, no? Because it kind of looks like the FX6, the shape of the camera, but we're talking only about the brain. This is without putting a lens in the front. This is, I mean, if you're using those small batteries at the back, it wouldn't be too bad. But the
Mm,
problem, yes, the problem is when you use a heavier lens, a bigger lens, then you will definitely have to use a gimbal.
gimbal.
I don't know if this camera would be suitable for gimbal. I personally never had a good relationship with gimbals. I like the handheld raw job with some shakes, acceptable shakes. Actually, this
Mm,
is, I think, the first lens that I own that has st- stabilizer.
in-body stabilization. Ah, I
Yeah, in
see.
body stabilization. So this is the
Mm,
first one I had. No, I'm lying to you. I used to have the RF 18 to 35. Yes, a long time ago when I used to have the Canon EOS R. but
mm,
but back then I had a gimbal and I didn't have good experience with it. So with a heavier camera, I like more the handheld work, um, more type of documentary thing. No, but
style.
of course, for certain, everything comes to two things. The money, like we mentioned before, and the type of work you do. So
Right.
if you do real estate job that you need to shoot the house and the things and the rooms and the very how you say, very steady movements and
Yeah.
everything, then you shouldn't get this camera. You get another camera and you get a nice
Mm,
gimbal and you do that with a gimbal or even with a phone.
mm,
So there's everything for everything. It all comes to
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last one is
Hmm.
perhaps the issue of the SDI versus no HDI, which for me was the first indication of who Blackmagic was targeted, at least in my opinion. The fact that there's no HDMI
Mhm.
starts to eliminate quite a number of people, because if people own camera monitors, I think most people have HDMI camera monitors, not SDIs.
Mhm.
Um, SDI monitors are sort of generally required to be more expensive and higher up that ladder of buying gear. So for someone who is already investing in an SDI monitor, they would have already gotten to a certain level. So do you think that by not having the HDMI, are they going to miss out on a certain group of people who should be buying this camera if it had that HDMI unit?
Look, the Pixis has only one XLR
Mm.
input in the front. This one has two, one and two.
Oh.
The Pixis had space for that. The Pixis doesn't have ND filters. This one doesn't have ND filters because the size and the sensor.
Mm.
The Pixis has space. I mean, there's a bigger body, so
Right.
and but the SDI versus HDMI is another consequence of welcome to the cinema world thing. No,
Yeah.
but yes, if you had or if you have an HDMI monitor like the majority of all of us, then it puts you in the situation that you will have to buy definitely an SDI monitor. It
Right.
will be cheaper than buying the viewfinder anyway,
The viewfinder.
I guess. But yes, there are certain things that I don't understand why. Like you have two slots for recording for these types of cards, but you only
Mm.
have one XLR in input. Yes, it's
In there.
48 phantom power in the whole thing, perfect. But we missed one. Well, but again, this type of camera, you probably will have, you will use it rigged up with other things and maybe an external audio recorder, etc. Because it's a
Yeah.
bigger production, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this kind of things. And yeah, the SDI. I think that one of the things that got people more angry is the screen not being able to flip it. I think more than the
That was
SDI,
the one that really
definitely.
got people going. The
Yeah,
screen, people just went crazy. Some people were
yeah.
saying, "Oh, it's on the wrong side." If you say this camera is for a first AC, it's on the wrong side. It should be on the other side of the camera. Some people were like, "No, it's on that side," and it's just this and everything and all of that. I'm like, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. Why are we so divided on this thing?" Like,
Yeah.
well, at a point where we should all be happy that Blackmagic is creating access, because that's what I think this is. I think this camera is access to getting a cinema styled body, that becomes accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah, and the word that I was looking for at the beginning, which is modularity. It's that,
Mm,
that modularity that you will have now to do many things with that form
right,
factor than with
right,
this, because this will
right.
go only one way: lens, rods, and things behind and things on top.
Yeah,
The other one will be less stuff. I mean, it will
yeah.
be fuller also, but you also, I'm a big fan of minimalism, and that's why this is one of the things why I like the Komodo and the Komodo X so much, because I see these people that rig the Komodo with, for me, things that are not very necessary, But anyway, it's whatever makes you happy. So, but I would like to just have it with the right handle, and that's it. Not even a monitor. But and this camera could have allowed you to do that if would it
Mm,
have the screen in a different place.
in a different
So
place.
you still need the little screen on top, and it has to be SDI, unfortunately.
Mm.
But of course, it's more quality SDI. No, there's no comparison with HDMI and SDI.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, I think that that's mostly what people, went on about. So
right.
let's just put a wrap to it. In your opinion, who is this camera for? The Pixis, the Blackmagic Pyxis. Who is this camera for?
I think, in my opinion, the Pixis 6K, the Blackmagic Pixis 6K, is for all the people who like Blackmagic cameras and they want to try something new, and they like to try something that it's more modular than the other cameras, and it's not as far as the Ursa. It's something in between, and they want to experiment with something new. I think there will be many people who will try this camera and will buy this camera. I think there are other people who hate the camera without trying it, without, but it's like that with everything in life. In the
Mm,
end, you do a video about an iPhone, and there will be many people who will hate the iPhone. You do a
yeah.
video about this camera, and there will be many people who will hate this camera. You do a video about the Red Komodo, there will be many people who will hate the company and the Komodo and the Red Rock code and everything. So, uh, whatever makes you happy. I wish I could have one. I'm actually thinking about selling my 6K Pro, maybe
Mm.
to purchase one of those, and
Oh
see how
wow.
they
Like
work.
you're okay. So you're willing to
Yeah,
make that switch from
yeah,
the 6K Pro straight to okay.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's working in my head. It's cooking, and you know I like cooking, so
That's amazing. That's amazing, brother. Once again, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate your perspective on this. Always a pleasure to talk to you any day, anytime.
absolutely, man.
Um,
Same here. I'll tell you something. Look, I'll tell you something. When I get the Pixis,
right.
we'll have this with the Pixis here, and we'll talk more
Right,
with the
right.
facts in the hand.
Exactly. We'll do a
Okay.
real life, real world use case scenario and see what this camera is really about.
I'll
But
tell you
yeah,
something
um,
else. I'll tell you something
yeah.
else. Shall we open it? Shall we open it now? No, no. I'll tell you something else. I'm kidding. Let's do an opening here.
Oh wow.
Eh?
Oh.
When I get it, if I get it,
Okay.
let's do the
Okay.
opening here with you for your
Okay.
channel.
Okay. I
All
cannot
right?
wait. I cannot wait. Black
Okay.
Magic, if you're listening, come on. Send it to him ASAP. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you,
Thank you,
brother.
man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, brother. Always a great time to to chat with you and just have a conversation with you. Fun fact was our friends Sal and Bart's Trio Stories. They were actually at NAB this year, so they had a first person contact with the camera, and
Mhm.
they were so busy they didn't have time to like take videos or do anything. Because I was like, oh, you guys are there, take videos, and let's talk about this camera. And they were
Of
like, dude,
course.
you should have asked us to record B-roll for you. And I was like, yeah, I totally forgot about that. I just wanted to chat about the camera from your perspective, considering how you've held it. I think maybe one of the impressive things about the camera as well as again is the fact that they said that it has this aluminum magnesium body, which
Mhm.
I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's different from all the other bodies that Blackmagic had before. So
It's a
this
small
one's a
plastic.
plastic. No, right,
Well,
right.
it's a strong plastic, but I've never dropped it, and I don't want to. So
Okay.
no.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
this one is made with a different alloy. Yes, different material.
Right, right. So we look forward to seeing what this camera, when people eventually get their hands on this camera. Let's see where the opinions will go. But as it stands, I would say that this camera is the most controversial topic or
Yeah,
piece of gear in the filmmaking community now. People are so divided about this camera. People are
absolutely.
so divided about
2024.
this
Yeah,
camera.
it will
People
go
are
on
so divided about this camera.
2024 awards of yeah, definitely, definitely. Yes.
All right, brother. Thank you for coming. I will let you, get back and have a great, amazing day. My
Thank you so
regards
much,
to the
man. Likewise.
family.
Likewise.
Same here, and have a
Thank
good,
you.
great
Thank you.
evening. All right. Bye. See you
Thank you very much.
soon.
Bye bye.
Yeah.